So today's video is going to be how to revise science. These are going to be like tips mainly for like combined science, because that's what I did at GCSE, was combined science. I was the person that, if you watch my results day videos, which I will link down below, I didn't think I'd pass science. Like, I'm one of those that didn't really understand science but still managed to get a 4 and pass. There again, I did a lot better than I expected. Like, science was like, for me, a kind of a hard subject. I found it hard to remember and pick up the content, is what I would find with science, and my notes just did something stupid.
A few moments later.
Science, I would feel like, how am I gonna memorize all this content? But there are ways to memorize science. I did combined science, but these tips can be applied to like triple science. How I memorized the content was, before memorizing the content, I would understand the content that I was trying to memorize. So you go through the specifications, see what you need to know. Out of that, figure out what you know and what you don't know. To understand topics you're not sure about, I would suggest watching YouTube videos. There are loads of YouTube videos like Primrose Kitten Maths and Science. She covers GCSE and A-level science. There's also my GCSE science. Or to learn stuff, I'd put the information into a revision PowerPoint and learn the information from the revision PowerPoint. Reading the textbook, I found didn't work. I would read it just before a test, but that would be the only time. Like, I pretty much read the science textbook once. So if you want to know a good textbook to go for, I'd go for like the CGP revision guides. Primrose Kitten does videos of live demonstrations and live experiments. A good way that I have to check your understanding is being able to explain it to someone who doesn't understand the topic, who has no knowledge of the topic. If you can explain it to someone else, then it says you have a good understanding of the topic. Now you have an understanding of the topic, let's talk about how to memorize the topic. I would make revision PowerPoints and I'd write the information out till I could basically recite the information out loud. Or you could make like condensed flashcards. Don't just copy out your class notes, condense them down. Get examples from videos and from the textbook and from your notes if you've got any from your class notes. Don't copy your notes word for word onto a flashcard. Add drawings and diagrams. To make a good flashcard, condense the information down, then put a question on the back. Condense it down just to the information you need to know. Other ways to memorise are, you could do topic mind maps, where you have a topic in the middle and put the information around the outside. Now we're going to talk about how to prepare for an exam. Go through the topics and do exam style questions. Easy stuff so you can recap, but hard stuff so you don't forget it, and go over stuff that you find difficult, because you need to practice your weaker topics as well as your strong topics. Do work on your weaker topics, will drag your grade up. If you don't go over the weaker topics, you can find that there'll be more chance of questions coming up that you didn't revise for. For your exam, you will get a mixture of easy and difficult questions. When doing past papers, if you get something wrong, highlight the mark scheme answer, get a piece of paper and write it out and add it to your revision resources. This is the point where you need to focus on what you got wrong. It's good that you've got things right, but you do need to focus on what you got wrong. Ways to understand what you got wrong: look it up in the textbook, watch videos, go to your teacher. Also, check for silly mistakes in what you got wrong. See if you just made a silly mistake so that you can correct that silly mistake, prevent it from happening again. In questions, make sure you use keywords because it can be the right answer, but you haven't used the correct keywords. You're not going to get the mark. Learn your keywords, memorize your definitions because it's handy to know. Like, Google your definitions, like, what is a force? I Googled that and it's a good thing to know. Now we're going to talk about each science. And I will share some exam tips and tricks and things and how I found the science. So let's get into it. Biology. I enjoyed the content. It was quite easy content. I would struggle with end of topic tests. Biology, everyone says there's so much content. To a point where there is so much that could come up in the exam. Do practice questions. Look at the mark scheme. Practice questions will help you get used to the format of a biology exam question. Learn your keywords is important so you phrase things right because you don't want to lose marks because you didn't phrase something in the right way or use the right keywords. Biology really does force you to learn like keywords, to word things in a certain way. It's not as right or wrong as chemistry and physics are. That's why it's essential to do practice questions. These questions are based on what you've learnt and what you've done in practice questions. You have the knowledge to answer the questions, you just need to write it in the way they want you to write it. Chemistry, I'd love practicals, but I found it harder than biology. But chemistry is very clear cut of the sciences. Chemistry, learn your formulas. Chemistry, if you do practice questions, there'll be less chance of coming up with something you don't revise. It's also kind of useful to learn your formulas. Also, it's useful to get like the maths calculations down because they're quite easy marks, the equation questions. Also, maths questions in chemistry come up over and over again, like the equations and that. Chemistry practice questions will prepare you for the format of chemistry, and for chemistry how I'd revise was I would do revision PowerPoints. I'd include diagrams in my revision PowerPoints. I would write out the information. I'd draw diagrams. Chemistry is a lot about focusing on your weak points because your weak and strong points will come up in an exam. Chemistry, when you don't understand something, it's not that bad. You just need to work on it. Chemistry, when you understand it, is not that bad. It's not the worst subject. Now moving on to physics. Personally, physics I did find kind of hard, kind of boring. Physics, you've got to learn your definitions. Definition of a force. If you don't know it, get to know it. Google that definition. What I did with forces is I would Google the definition, or for anything, just Google it. Again, watch videos of physics. Again, focus on your weak points. Ask your teacher for help. This is the same for all the sciences, is ask your teacher for help. Perfect your maths questions, because maths questions will come up in science and they're easy marks. I found the maths questions were just easy marks. Practice your equations so you understand them. Also do practice exam style questions because then you'll get used to the format of the exam. It's a lot about getting used to the format for science of an exam. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And I will see you in another video. Bye. Subscribe down below to see future videos.